Okay, well, it is 7:01, so we will begin here. We are having a little bit of technical difficulties tonight, so you guys are going to have to listen to me talk all evening. So good evening and welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us on our virtual presentation, taking you all the way down to or not down, I guess, to the land of fire and ice in Iceland. Before we jump into the presentation, I have a couple of things I'd like to mention. Questions. We encourage you to ask questions anytime throughout the presentation, and you can do so at the bottom of your screen in the Q&A box. You will be muted, so you'll have to type your questions into the Q&A box. If you've joined us from Facebook, you can type your questions into the comment section on Facebook, and we will try to get to those at the end of the presentation. But we welcome all of your questions and we'll answer as many as we can. Upcoming presentations. We've been continuing with our virtual presentation series. They're all at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Next week, we have on April 5th, our Jay's Jaunt to Seattle. The week after, April 13th, we'll talk about our Black Hills tour. And on April 20th, you'll hear more about our Haida tour. If you've missed any of our previous live presentations, we do have recorded versions available on our website for viewing at your leisure at westworldtours.com. And if you would like to receive invites to future presentations, as well as timely information on new tours, we recommend that you follow us on Facebook and sign up for our email newsletter. You won't be inundated with emails and you can unsubscribe at any time. And there may be a few more emails than normal right now as we keep everyone informed with our virtual presentation series. And so right now I'm going to launch a poll onto your screen, asking you to let us know if you would like to receive our email newsletter. And if you're joining us from Facebook, you won't be able to see the poll, but you can comment in the comments, or you can send us a message if you would like to be added to our email newsletter. Just give it a few minutes while everyone gets that done. Okay, perfect. Thank you for participating in that. Okay, so a little bit about Westworld Tours. As Western Canada's premier motor coach touring company, we have been serving Canadians from coast to coast with escorted travel throughout North America and around the world since 2000, presenting quality components, including excellent accommodations, modern, comfortable coaches, professional tour directors, experienced, courteous drivers, and luggage handling. We take the important sites and attractions and include several meals throughout. Thousands of passengers have chosen our first-class style of touring, enjoying the great value, security, and stress-free environment, all while making new friends along the way. We know our tour directors enjoy getting to know you while on tour, and they love seeing familiar faces. Speaking of familiar faces, I'm going to launch a poll onto your screen right now, and we would like to know how many people watching this evening have traveled with Westworld Tours before. For anyone watching on Facebook, please enter your response into the comment section, just a yes or no if you've traveled with us before. Okay. Looks like we have quite a few that have not traveled with us before, so welcome everybody. Looks like we've got about 67% that have not, and about 33 that have traveled with us, so welcome. Those of you who have not traveled with us, we hope that you'll find this informative and that we'll see you on tour one day. And for those of you that have traveled with us, welcome back. We're looking forward to seeing you back on tour one day, hopefully one day this year, as things start to get back at it. And as I mentioned, we love hearing from our passengers. So this is a review left by Arnold and Sharon, who traveled with us, Shannon, who traveled with us to Iceland in 2019. Shannon's grandparents immigrated from Iceland to Canada in the summer of 1892, and they made prior arrangements to meet with family still living in Iceland during their trip. The Kozaks were able to visit the places where their family homestead once stood, hearing stories and learning how families lived and worked in the diverse climate and landscape. And if you're going on this tour and have ancestors from Iceland, please let us know ahead of time. We would love to try to get you some information or make a homestead visit and get you to where those people used to live. So now all about Iceland. So join us for an adventure of a lifetime. Our Iceland tour is departing July 17th to 27th of this year. Immerse yourself in the history and culture this summer as we explore all that Iceland has to offer. Truly a bucket list destination unlike any other in the world. The land of fire and ice delivers a diverse landscape from impressive mountains, beautiful lakes, and lovely beaches to glaciers and lava fields. Our complete Circle Island tour will have you visiting national parks, taking photos of magnificent waterfalls, discovering the serene beauty of the glaciers and marine wildlife on a whale watching boat tour, and soothing your body and mind in the geothermal waters at the Blue Lagoon. And so I will briefly introduce myself. Cindy was having some technical difficulties, so apologize. You guys are going to have to listen to me talk all evening. My name is Leanne. I am the general manager of Westworld Tours. I've been in the travel industry for several years now. Enjoy traveling. Love to get out and explore this wonderful place we live in. So now we will get into Iceland. I'm looking forward to telling you a little bit more about this unique tour. Before we jump into the presentation, I just wanted to give you some advance warning. Not only which is one of the ancient languages of the world. So bear with me as I attempt some of these words. I know the map is a little small on your screen there, but take a look at some of the spelling of these beautiful places we visit. And I think you'll be able to sympathize with me as I try to say some of these places that we visit. So this map is a good visualization of the Nordic island of Iceland, and our journey through the whole country is mapped out. Iceland's rugged coastline meets the Greenland Sea on the north, the Norwegian Sea on the east, the Atlantic Ocean on the south and west, and the Denmark Strait, which separates it from Greenland on the northwest side. The island is about 103,000 square kilometers, and as you will see during the presentation, the areas could not be any more different. We start in the southwest and travel to the west, up into the north, east, and then back down to the south, making a complete circle tour of the island. So on our first day, as we arrive in Iceland, we fly into in and out of the Keflavik airport on the southwestern peninsula, which is actually next to the famous Blue Lagoon. So we stay in Reykjavik for our first night, which lies on the south and west part of Iceland. And Iceland is about 6 hours ahead of Central Time. So the first day you just get to relax, get adjusted to the time zone, and explore Reykjavik on your own. And so Reykjavik, whose name means Bay of Smokes in Iceland, was reportedly because the first Viking settlers saw steam from geothermal vents when they first landed in Iceland. Home to more than 60% of the Icelandic population, the capital city of Reykjavik is the most northern capital city in the world. It's a colorful and quirky city packed with numerous restaurants, cafes, bars, museums, and it's extremely walkable. So I know there'll be lots for you to explore on your first day there. A couple little fun facts about Iceland. It is the most sparsely populated country in Europe, and it was found by accident, actually, over 1,100 years ago by the Vikings from Norway, sometime in the 9th century. Another little fun fact, it's the only Western capital without a Starbucks or McDonald's. But fear not, they've got some really great food for you to try when you're there. So it's kind of nice when you don't see those big arches somewhere. But okay, moving on. So after we arrive in Iceland, we head west and north towards the Reykjanes Peninsula and the Great Lava Fields. First, we visiting the historic places and a unique string of waterfalls that go through the lava field. As you can see in the photos, There you can see the water coming through those lava rocks. And you can also see the single largest hot spring in all of Western Iceland in those photos. And Iceland sits on 2 tectonic plates, so they often have earthquakes here. Nothing serious, locals like to say, shaken, not stirred. So the west of Iceland is part of the North American tectonic plate, and the east of Iceland is part of the Eurasian tectonic plate, which is the reason for the endless volcanic landscapes, lava fields, and volcanoes. And so you can see there in the photos, the steam rising, that's from the hot springs, and we'll get to see that and when we're there. So as we continue on, we will move to the north of the country, and here we do a number of things. We'll visit a traditional turf farm, as you can see in the photos there. This is where many of the people who immigrated from Canada, or immigrated to Canada in the late 1880s and 1890s came from. And perhaps those are some of your ancestors that lived or worked on these farms. And you'll see here, this is Skaftafell, which is a great area for whale watching. And we do whale watching in this area. So we'll depart on a whale watching boat tour from the Akari area. And in the past, we have been quite lucky in seeing humpback whales. And there's even been a couple of blue whales spotted in this area. So it's a good spot for us to explore a little bit. Okay, also in the north of Iceland is Hussevic, an old fishing village where we will make a stop. And Hussevic is not far from Gouda Foss, nicknamed Waterfall of the Gods. This waterfall flows over 30-meter wide horseshoe-shaped rock that rises in the center, separating the waterfall into 2, as seen in the top right-hand photo. Gouda Foss waterfall is not far from Aspergy, the horseshoe-shaped scene in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. And it is said that Odin's 8-legged flying horse, as seen in your left bottom, Stolkin, bumped one of his hooves onto the ground when he and Odin rushed by, explaining the shape. But the real explanation for Burgi's shape is not as cool, but it's still pretty interesting. At the end of the Ice Age, glaciers melted fast and formed large glacial rivers. And a couple of times, the large glaciers burst open and released massive glacial flooding. Their destructive power formed the unique otherworldly landscapes. And so on this slide, you'll see lava fields. And so today we'll travel east from Mjøen to the lava fields of Dimmuborgir, and also known as the Black Fortress. It's a dramatic expanse of lava in the Mjøen area, and parts of this area look like the moon. Actually, in fact, some of the first astronauts, such as Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and Michael Collins, came to this area to train for their first moon expedition, so that's pretty neat. As lava flowed across this area, it passed over a lake, causing it to boil. Oh, Cindy, if you just want to back up, and I'll keep chatting about that slide a little bit. So the lava flowed across this area. It passed over a lake, causing it to boil. And this both quickened the cooling of the lava and caused pillars of steam to shatter parts of it. So after it solidified, the Dimborgir became an area defined by large stacks of rocks, many caves and caverns, or the photo in the top left-hand side, they call it a troll structure, as it looks like, was caused by bubbles of intense steam. And so as you can see in the photos, the lava fields stretch out for quite a distance and are quite large. And these are the remains of massive eruptions from the distant past. This area has also been in several movies as backdrops for different planets. And we'll also visit some hot springs in this area as pictured, and of course, the magnificent and powerful waterfalls, Foss. It's the largest waterfall in Northern Europe, plummeting approximately 150 feet down into the canyon. And as you can imagine, we travel through some of the last great wilderness of Europe as we make our way between the north and east of Iceland. Okay, So the different parts of Iceland are very different. The west, north, east, and south. Once you get into the east of Iceland, it's mostly fjords, looking like northern Norway with high mountains and deep fjords there. The east of Iceland is geologically the oldest part of Iceland, and here you will find the different colors in the mountains. We'll also visit a great place that showcases these minerals as seen in the top right-hand corner of your screen. And now this was put together by one lady that walked these mountains and collected these minerals. This is also one of the only parts of Iceland where you will not find volcanoes, and there's no chance of volcanic eruptions. But actually all of Iceland has volcanoes, not necessarily active. And for example, the southwestern peninsula hasn't had an eruption for about 800 years. And we'll talk a little bit about the eruption that happened last year, but they were expecting that one and about a year in advance. So there weren't any surprises there. Okay, so moving on, continuing with our circle tour, we are now heading down into the south of Iceland. Here we are in the vicinity of Europe's largest glacier, Vatnajökull. That probably is not pronounced right, but I gave it a shot. So covering 8% of Iceland's landmass, this glacier is approximately 8,100 square kilometers of solid ice. And as you can see in the top left-hand photo, is a photo of the Glacier Lagoon, a natural phenomenon, which continues to grow, unfortunately, due to the rapid shrinking of the glacier due to climate change. But it's quite a sight to see these huge icebergs breaking off and floating out to sea down the river. And you can often see seals swimming here into the lagoon to catch fish, so it's quite interesting. So beneath the glacier, it actually holds the tallest peak beneath its ice at 7,218 feet or 2,200 meters tall, which is in the main part of the glacier. And it conceals some of the most active volcanoes in the country. As you can see in the photos, the black in the ice is from ash eruptions from the past, which is incredible to see. You can see all the marble looking ash through it. In the top right-hand corner is the largest lava field in the world, created in historic times. It's 600 square kilometers of lava. So it's created during an eruption during the 1780s, which affected the whole world. And ash from this eruption actually circumnavigated the world about 3 times and sparked famine and the French Revolution. So quite interesting how a volcano can disrupt everything. This lava field also has about 2 to 3 inches of moss growing on it. And just back up once here, Cindy. So it has about 2 to 3 inches of moss growing on it. And the landscape can only be described as extraterrestrial. Once you drive through these lava fields, you'll drive into black sand desert, which is volcanic sands that come from the 2 large volcanoes on the south coast. And I'm not going to attempt the names here, but one of these volcanoes is actually the one that stopped all air traffic in Europe back in 2010 for a couple of days. So I'm sure you all remember that when they shut that all down. And also Katla, which is one of the great volcanoes sitting right on the south coast, is impressive to see how the landscape changes as we travel from the volcanoes to the black sand to the massive lava fields with moss growing on them. Okay, now moving into the southwest of Iceland. Here you'll see quite a few waterfalls and rock formations, which is very different from the landscape we saw before. So as you can see, we've moved through the different landscapes. It's changed vastly and very interesting to see how it changes. So these waterfalls are quite frequently photographed at all times of the day. As you can see, they're beautiful. However, there are no promises that you will get a rainbow at Foss waterfall, seen in the bottom right. But our groups have been lucky. As we'll see a little bit later in the presentation. So on the left-hand side of your screen is the Great Waterfall of Gold. Sorry, on the bottom right-hand side of your screen is the Great Waterfall of Gold. And in your bottom left is Foss, the largest two-step waterfall in Iceland. And it comes from a glacier river flowing from Iceland's second largest glacier. You'll also see in the top right the Great Geyser, Stolkin, one of the most active erupting geysers in the world. This geyser erupts every 4 to 5 minutes, up to 30 to 40 meters. So it's quite interesting, and we should be guaranteed to see that while we visit. And so it's just a really lovely drive as we travel through this area known as the Golden Circle route. We will continue to Pingvellir National Park, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and the Rift Valley, which is historically very important in Iceland because the Vikings formed the first parliament here in 930 AD, and some important decisions have been made here. Thingvellir translates to Fields of Parliament, which is applicable for this area. So you'll see the Great Rift in the middle photo there. And so as I mentioned earlier, Iceland is divided by the Mid-Atlantic Rift. The West Fjords and Reykjavik are on the North American tectonic plate, and the other areas are on the Eurasian plate. So Iceland is one of the only places in the world where this rift can be seen above sea level. And now nowhere else can you see the edges of both plates as clearly as you can here. So we'll drive through the Rift Valley and cross from the North American to the Eurasian plate, and have a chance to get out and walk along it and just have a look at what we're seeing there. So the tectonic plates are actually moving apart approximately 2.5 centimeters per year. And so the effects of this movement can be clearly seen within the park. So we'll be able to get to see that when we stop there. Okay, so moving on, I'm sure you all recognize this. This is the Blue Lagoon, an otherworldly wonder in the heart of a volcanic landscape. It's a unique place, a must-see when you're in Iceland. So it's a natural silica mud and geothermal water in the middle of a lava field. It's a must-do, soak and enjoy and reminisce about what we've seen over the last few days. The Blue Lagoon is actually one of the 25 wonders of the world. And just a little bit about you'll see the milky shade of blue, and that's due to its high silica content, which forms soft white mud on the bottom of the lake. And you'll see lots of pictures with people rubbing it on their face and doing a little mask while they're in the water. The water is also rich in salts and algae, and the temperature of the lagoon reaches anywhere between 37 and 39 degrees Celsius. So it's a really great spot to sit and relax and take in the beautiful landscapes around. So from there, we head back into Reykjavik. And here you'll see we get to visit the Perlan observation deck, which has panoramic views of the city and surrounding area, which you can see in the top right-hand corner of your screen. We'll also see the Hallgrímskirkja Kirkja Church. That is probably not the correct pronunciation, but that is a church we will see. You can see that in the bottom right-hand corner. It is the tallest church in Iceland at 244 feet tall, and it's known for its distinctly curved spire and side wings, as you can see in the photo there. And you'll also see a picture in on the right-hand side middle of the Harpa Concert Hall, and it has its distinct glass facade inspired by the basalt landscape of Iceland. And just a couple fun facts about Iceland and Reykjavik. So Iceland, the capital city, Reykjavik, is the actually only capital city in the world that is home to a major puffin breeding colony. Iceland's home to the largest and most important nesting grounds for the Atlantic puffins, estimated at 60% of the world's population nests in Iceland. Another fun fact, people in Reykjavik actually lived in turf houses right into the 1960s. So the first thing you'll notice when you arrive in Iceland is the absence of trees and forests. And this meant that Icelanders could not build wooden houses. And there was no lime deposits that had been found at that time. So that means no stone houses either. So this left turf as the only easily available domestic building material for homes. So that's kind of interesting. And looks like we're just flying through this tonight, but we'll move on to the next slide. So here you'll see some photos from our past groups. And as I mentioned earlier, I said we're not guaranteed seeing rainbow at that waterfall, but we have several times in the past. As you can see, these are two of our ladies on one of our trips. And so we were lucky enough to see a rainbow there this time. And you'll see our group with the silica mud on their faces in the Blue Lagoon there, visiting the waterfalls, getting out walking around at one of our stops, and just exploring all that Iceland has to offer. So one of the benefits of doing the whole circle tour, as I said earlier, is just seeing how everything changes, and you don't know what's coming next. It just, from one to the next, it just changes. It's such a small country that we can travel quite far in a day. So the changes are just quite really interesting when we're traveling. And like you saw on the map, we do cover most of the country. We touch all of Iceland's history and geology, and we get to visit some of the less touristy places in Iceland. Here is some more pictures of our previous groups. In the top right, you'll see beautiful views from the coach. So this is a photo that our tour director took from the back. You'll see the great big beautiful windows that you can see out. You'll be able to see all the landscapes as we go. So our coaches are modern, they're comfortable, and you just have great views out the panoramic windows. So in our bottom left, you'll see one of the extra passengers that we took on at one of the stops. So this is our goat friend, and I'm not sure how far he got before anyone kicked him off, but he decided to take a little journey with us. You'll also notice in the middle of the bottom photo is we stop at actually an organic tomato grower. So they use a geothermal greenhouse and using green energy to do it. So we have a great lunch there and a tour. And geothermal energy actually made it possible for Iceland to grow 67% of their vegetables. So it's a really great tour and opportunity to learn a little bit more about that geothermal energy there. And so in the top left-hand corner, you'll see a big photo of our group. And moving on here, we're back. So that's our group there sitting nice for the picture. And so moving on here, I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but you'll remember the volcanic eruption that started in March of last year. So these are actually some photos that were taken of it. And it's located on that same southwestern peninsula as the airport that we fly into, and close to Reykjavik, where you could actually still see the glow of the volcano erupting from. It's now over, but it actually became the longest recorded eruption in half a century after spewing lava for over 6 months. So that's quite interesting. They say sometimes it could erupt for up to, a couple of years. So unfortunately, we will not get to see it on our trip this year. But as you can see in the photos here, this was a very popular place for tourists, and they actually had about 350,000 visitors viewing the volcano. so erupting. So it's really neat to see how these lava fields are created over a long period of time. And yeah. Okay, so now a little bit more about international tours and why you have a Westworld Tours guide on your international tours. So typically on our international tours, we will have a local guide that travels with us, which is excellent. They, have all the firsthand knowledge of the country. They provide ins and outs. They have stories. They know all about the culture, the language, all that kind of stuff. But we also have our Westworld tour guide that joins the groups, and they're there for a lot of reasons. Some of the more important ones are they give you a call prior to your tour departing. So this will be a pre-tour phone call, and your tour guide will introduce themselves, and great time, to meet each other, I guess, over the phone. They'll answer any questions that you may have. They'll give you some reminders about things, packing tips, that kind of thing. And they'll also go over your documents and make sure you have everything you need for the trip. So more importantly, they remind you about your passport. If you needed a visa, they'll remind you to pack your rain jacket and your comfy walking shoes. Maybe you need sunscreen and gravel if we're doing any, boat tours and you get motion sickness, or perhaps you need an adapter to plug in your cell phone or your laptop or your camera. Those are all things that they'll remind you of and note to you as before the tour, so you can be prepared. They'll also talk to you about the local currency, whether you need to bring cash or you need to, take out cash before you go from the bank here, or if you can get cash out there, credit cards, things like that. So they'll talk to you a little bit more about that. They'll give you some information on the cultural differences that we may face. For example, gratuities in foreign countries, whether you do or you don't, proper etiquette, things like that. So they'll give you information on the weather, jet lag tips, navigating airports. So when we travel internationally with a group, typically we'll have a rendezvous airport, whether that's Toronto or Vancouver or Calgary. We will have a spot where we all meet and travel together on the international flight for the most part. So typically the tour director will let you know whether they're going to be meeting you at the gate, things like that, and confirming flight times and things. So they also will advise, give you little tips such as, taking photocopies of your important documents, your passport, your credit card, your driver's license, things like that you may not have thought of before you travel. And they just calm your apprehensions if you have any. It's nice to travel as a group. We're there to help you enjoy your trip and make sure everything runs smoothly. And a lot of people find comfort in traveling together as a group. So our tour director is there to help. And while we're on these international tours, as I said, we have local guides that come along and show you around. But our tour directors are there to help you things go smoothly. So typically we'll have a sign that says Westworld Tours on it. We're there to help you with things that may have come up while you're on tour. And all you need to worry about is sitting back and enjoying the ride and leaving the driving test. So, okay, so now we are on to, that's the end of the presentation. So now we would just like to thank everyone for joining us. And if you have any questions, now would be the time to we'll answer those. So if you have any questions, you can type those into the Q&A box. I'm not seeing any right now, actually, but I hope somebody will ask me some questions, see if I have some answers for you. Some of the questions that have come up in the past from clients that have traveled on this tour are, what do I wear? As you've seen, Iceland changes drastically from area to area, but so does the weather. So dressing in layers on this tour is important. There's usually 4 seasons in one day, so layers and wind and waterproof jackets. Bring your rain jacket. Dress in layers, like I said. Comfortable shoes and just casual clothing. We don't need anything fancy for this. It's summer, but it's not too hot. So, okay, so we do have some questions. Great. Okay, so what is the temperature and the climate like in July? So, like I said, it's summer, but it's not too hot. The temperature I want to say is around in the 20s. And so you'll just want to pack accordingly. Maybe Cindy can give us the exact rough temperature for July. And what is the average group age? Shelley is asking. So Shelley, we have all, this tour has, a bunch of, a big age difference here. Our average age on our tours is, 60 to 70. Depending on the tour. Actually, on this tour, we have some families on this tour. We have some older people. But we welcome all ages. So we hope that you can join us. Mary asks, is this an active tour? Is there lots of walking? No, there's not a huge amount of walking on this tour. We do get off and explore the area, but there's not a huge amount of walking on this tour. So, you can do as much as you'd like while we're in Reykjavik or have some free time, but there isn't a huge amount of walking.
Leanne, can you hear me?
What is the cost? So you can visit our website. We have all the pricing on our website, westworldtours.com. And what can we expect for temperatures? Okay, maybe Cindy can answer those in the comment section. Someone else asked, what is the language in Iceland? So it's like Icelandic. And as I mentioned earlier, I am not fluent in Icelandic. So that's why some of the words I attempted to pronounce did not probably pronounce the way they should have been. But from what I gather from past tours, you will learn some words, so that's exciting. Okay, Cindy said the temperatures. So the average daytime temperature in July is around 13 degrees Celsius and can rise up to 20 degrees. So it's more of a spring-like day for us in Canada here, but still beautiful. Okay. I don't see any other questions here. Just wait a couple more minutes here. I'll talk about a little bit more of questions that we've had asked in the past. So currency. The currency is the Icelandic krona. And you don't need to bring a lot of cash with you when you're traveling to Iceland. Credit card and debit card are widely accepted, and you can take cash out anywhere. So that's not a worry. Many places do actually accept dollars as well. But have someone work out the local currency for you. It's a little tricky. When I looked earlier, it was, what was it here? Icelandic krona. About $10 Canadian equals about $1,000, 1,000 krona. So it's easier to let them do the math for you. So, okay, what else did I have here? Local language and phrases. Like I said, it's Icelandic, and our local guide will teach you some words each day. So you'll be able to speak a little bit, or at least say hi, bye, thank you to the locals. So thank you is tak, 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 tak. So you'll know that. And on this tour, I'm surprised no one has asked that yet about meals, but we do include several meals on this tour. So your breakfast and dinner are always going to be included with the exception of one dinner. And then there will be lunches that will be on your own. So with the free evening or the free evening for dinner on your own, we've allowed that to let you, explore on your own and choose a restaurant. Our local guides will be there to help you. You can let them know what you're thinking, what you're feeling like, and they'll recommend something while you're there. And you can go out. We do have 3 lunches included. But there's lots of seafood, there's organic lamb, there's lots of vegetables, as I mentioned, grown in greenhouses. So you'll enjoy the food. And we'll also try some local meals. So that's going to be exciting and delicious. One other interesting fact about Iceland is while we're there in the summer, it's actually going to be, about 24 hours daylight. So you will be able to explore all day and all night. So, but typically our days start around 9 a.m. ending around 5 p.m. So we don't have long days. We're able to comfortably travel throughout the country and visit at a leisurely pace. So I think we travel about 1,500 kilometers the entire tour. And so we see so much in that short amount of time. And the country's so easy to get around, so we don't need to worry about long days. Okay. How much time is spent on the bus? Okay, Mary. So as I was just saying here, we travel about 1,500 kilometers over the entire tour. So typically we leave the hotel around 9 a.m. and we're back around 5 p.m. Not all of that is spent on the bus, of course. We are, on and off the bus. We're exploring museums. We're exploring the nature. We're doing a boat tour. We're exploring outside. So the entire tour is not spent on the bus. Each day will vary though, but it's a very leisurely pace. Some of the wildlife that we'll see on tour is puffins, of course, and there's plenty of Icelandic horses that we'll get to see. And they actually don't really have a lot of wildlife besides birds, whales if we're lucky, of course, and they have a fox and a mouse is pretty much all the animals that we'll get to see besides dogs and cats, of course. And seals, if we're lucky, when we do our whale watching tour. How often do we change hotels? So we'll change hotels every couple of nights. Let me just pull up the itinerary here. So with this tour, we will change hotels. So we stay one night in Reykjavik on the first night, then we change. So about every couple of days, every day we're changing to a new hotel. And then at the end, we're staying in Reykjavik for 2 nights. So we change to be able to see and not have to drive as far each day. So we move around the country and get to explore the different regions. Speaking of hotels, they're European hotels. So the beds are, the single twins. Sometimes they're pushed together if you're wanting one bed. Minimalistic decor, clean and comfortable. All the hotels will have Wi-Fi, connectivity. Cell phone connections are good in Iceland as well. So you'll be able to stay connected and show everyone what a great time you're having in Iceland. So, okay. Does the bus have toilets? I believe it should. Yeah, typically most coaches do have washroom facilities on them. We try to use those only in emergencies, but they definitely do. So we will, we can confirm that for you if you'd like, but that they should have a toilet on it. So. Okay, well, if there are no more questions, I'm sure you're sick of hearing me talk. So thank you all for joining us this evening. If you'd like more information on any of our tours or this tour, you can visit us online at westworldtours.com or email information@westworldtours.com. follow us on Facebook or visit your local travel agency. We do still have space on this tour, so we would love to have you join us this July. And we look forward to seeing you again next week when we talk about our Jay's Jaunt to Seattle. Take care, everyone, and have a great evening.